When someone is pronounced dead, the process feels absolute. A time of death is recorded. Paperwork is signed. Families are notified. From that moment forward, the world moves on under the assumption that nothing can change. But in rare and unsettling cases, that assumption has proven wrong. Sometimes death is declared too soon. Sometimes it is declared incorrectly. And sometimes people are erased legally while still alive. Tonight, we are exploring documented cases of people who were officially declared dead, only to reappear later. Each case is real, each one verified, and each one challenges our understanding of how final death truly is. Lazarus syndrome. In modern medicine, there exists a rare and deeply unsettling phenomenon known as Lazarus syndrome. It occurs after a patient suffers cardiac arrest. Resuscitation efforts are attempted. They fail. The patient is pronounced dead, and then minutes later, without intervention, the heart begins beating again. This phenomenon is documented in peer-reviewed medical literature. It has occurred in hospitals around the world. One of the most well-known modern cases happened in 2014 in Mississippi. A 78-year-old man named Walter Williams was pronounced dead by medical staff after his heart stopped beating. He was officially declared deceased. His family was notified. His body was transported to a funeral home. While staff were preparing him for embalming, they noticed movement. Walter Williams was alive. He was rushed back to the hospital, where doctors confirmed spontaneous return of circulation. Medical experts later explained that delayed effects of CPR may have caused his heart to restart after death had been declared. Walter Williams survived the incident. For several minutes, he had been legally dead. Cases like this are extremely rare, but they are real. They reveal a troubling truth. Even with modern technology, determining the exact moment of death is not always precise. Anne Green. Long before modern medicine, mistakes surrounding death were even more common. In 1650, in England, a young woman named Anne Green was sentenced to death by hanging. The execution was carried out publicly. Witnesses observed her body hanging motionless. She was pronounced dead. Her remains were placed in a coffin and transported for burial. But during preparations, those present noticed something extraordinary. Anne Green was breathing. Attempts were made to revive her, including warming her body and administering aid. She survived. Medical experts later believed the hanging had not fully cut off oxygen, and cold conditions slowed her bodily functions. What followed was unprecedented. Authorities ruled that her survival was an act of divine intervention. Her sentence was overturned. She was officially pardoned. Anne Green went on to live a full life after being publicly executed and declared dead. William Moult. In November of 1997, William Moult disappeared after leaving a nightclub in Florida. He never returned home. Search efforts failed. Years passed without answers. Eventually, he was declared dead in absentia. His case joined countless others, filed away as unresolved. But in 2019, a resident reviewing satellite imagery noticed something unusual in a nearby retention pond: a submerged vehicle. Authorities investigated and discovered a car that had been underwater for more than 20 years. Inside were human remains. Dental records confirmed the identity. William Moult had been there the entire time. Declared dead, while his body sat unnoticed within sight of homes and roads for over 2 decades. John Darwin. In 2002, a British man named John Darwin was reported missing after a canoeing incident. His damaged canoe was found. The conditions suggested drowning. He was declared dead, but John Darwin had staged the entire event. For years, he lived quietly, using false identities, even interacting with people who believed he was dead. Eventually, he reappeared in Panama and attempted to use a stolen passport. Authorities uncovered the truth. His death had been fabricated. Insurance claims had been collected. The system had been exploited. John Darwin was arrested, convicted, and imprisoned. His case revealed how easily death can be accepted and how difficult it is to undo once officially declared. In 2018, a woman involved in a car accident in Gauteng, South Africa, was declared dead at the scene. Paramedics from Distress Assist arrived and assessed her condition. According to their report, there were no signs of life, no detectable pulse, no breathing. Medical equipment showed no indication of cardiac activity. She was officially pronounced dead. Her body was transported to a mortuary in Carletonville and placed inside a refrigerated storage unit alongside other deceased individuals. Paperwork was completed, forms were filled out. The process moved forward as if the matter was settled. But then, something went terribly wrong. A forensic pathology officer returned to the cold storage area to double-check the bodies. As one of the drawers was pulled open, the officer noticed movement. The woman was breathing inside the mortuary fridge. She was still alive. The discovery triggered immediate alarm. She was removed from the cold storage unit and rushed for medical attention. Authorities later confirmed that the woman had survived the ordeal. The incident sparked an investigation by the Gauteng Department of Health. The CEO of Gauteng Forensic Pathology Services, Dr. Paul Marul, confirmed that the misdeclaration of death was under formal review. Distress Assist paramedics publicly stated that all protocols had been followed. They emphasized that multiple checks for life had been conducted. They maintained that equipment used at the scene showed no signs of life, and that there was no evidence of negligence. But the outcome remained undeniable. A woman had been declared dead, transported to a mortuary, placed in refrigeration, and discovered alive. Cases like this are not classified as resurrection. They are classified as failures of detection. Extreme trauma, shock, hypothermia, or suppressed vital signs can make life nearly impossible to detect in rare circumstances, but the implications are chilling. Because in this case, survival depended not on medical intervention. It depended on someone looking again. In 2023, a deeply unsettling incident unfolded in the city of Babahoyo. A 76-year-old woman named Bella Montoya was taken to hospital after suffering what doctors believed was a stroke. According to her family, she arrived at the hospital in the morning. By midday, a doctor informed them that she had died. A death certificate was issued. The official cause listed was cardiopulmonary arrest following a stroke. Her body was released. Bella Montoya was placed in a coffin and taken to a funeral parlor where family members gathered to hold a wake ahead of her burial. For nearly 5 hours, mourners sat with her body. Candles were lit, prayers were spoken, goodbyes were said. Then, as relatives prepared to change her clothes before the funeral, they opened the coffin, and something happened that no one present was prepared for. Bella Montoya gasped for air. Her son, Gilbert Balbaran, later described the moment. He said his mother began moving her left hand. Her eyes opened, her mouth moved. She was struggling to breathe. Video recorded by someone at the wake shows Bella Montoya lying in the open coffin, visibly alive, as panic spreads through the room. An ambulance was called. Minutes passed. Eventually, firefighters arrived and placed her on a stretcher. She was rushed back to the same hospital where she had been declared dead. This time, she was admitted to intensive care. According to her son, she was responsive. She was placed on oxygen. Her heart was stable. When a doctor pinched her hand, she reacted. For hours, Bella Montoya had been legally dead, declared by a physician, certified by paperwork, and mourned by her family, only to regain consciousness at her own wake. Medical experts were quick to emphasize that such cases, while rare, are not impossible. A senior lecturer in medicine at Anglia Ruskin University, Dr. Stephen Hughes, explained that death is not always a single moment, it is a process. In some cases, vital signs become so faint that they are extremely difficult to detect. Doctors typically check for responsiveness, pulse, breathing effort, and heart sounds. If none are observed after careful examination, death may be declared. But certain conditions can complicate that assessment. In such cases, even trained professionals can make mistakes, especially under time pressure. Following the incident, the Ecuador Ministry of Public Health announced the formation of a committee to investigate how the death had been declared. The focus was not on the extraordinary nature of Bella Montoya's survival, but on how easily she had been pronounced dead in the first place. Cases like this force an uncomfortable realization. Sometimes death is not discovered, it is decided. And sometimes that decision is wrong. Across centuries and systems, one reality remains clear. Declaring death is not infallible. Medicine can fail, records can be wrong, institutions can make irreversible mistakes. These cases do not suggest that death itself is reversible. They reveal something more unsettling. That certainty, especially official certainty, is fragile and sometimes dangerously premature. Death is considered final, but these cases remind us that even the most definitive declarations can be wrong. The line between life and death is thinner than we are comfortable admitting, and sometimes crossing it is a mistake.